Hello again everybody to another episode of An Ecologist Plays, the channel where we get to talk about nature while playing games. My name is Will and we are back in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora as we're just dismounting our new little horsey over here. Now the dire horses that we are bonding with, the bond is temporary. Every time we'll have a different one. Ours is already wandering off. Oh, there he is. Okay, hello there. But I can go and bond with that dire horse over there. I can go with this one again. It's a temporary bond, but it does make it difficult because you don't always have that one at your beck and call. Now we are back in the circle here of the Zeswa clan. We just have to give the bad news to the two sisters that, listen, there are lots and lots of poachers that are killing a whole bunch of animals. I think they're literally in this tent that I'm running around. Okay, what do you have to say?
You look unwell, warrior. What have you discovered?
At their camps, I saw animals trapped and in pain. I freed those I could.
They kill needlessly. They leave the meat to rot.
Food from Ewa makes them sick.
Ha! She stabs at them from their bellies.
They only take the parts of our world that they can sell to other sky people as trophies.
They have no respect for the life that surrounds them.
Their leader is Harding, and she's well known for her cruelty. What they steal, they take to her camp, beyond the stone pillars.
Then we will repay her in kind. Go, and we will join you when we can.
Keep your eyes and arrows sharp, Sarantu.
Right, so basically we have to go take out Harding's lodge. So Colonel Harding is the second in command, I believe, but basically she's been pillaging this landscape here, poaching a whole bunch of animals, selling them as trophies back, or parts of them at least, as trophies back on Earth. And we're going to put a stop to that because it is a needless slaughter of all the indigenous species here on the moon. Now we also have two new quests. One is to collect two certain fruits to be used as pigments for a mural that's going to be painted to commemorate the fact that the Zeswa and the Sarentu are working together. And then another one is to help one of the Zeswa connect with her father so that he can actually, that he becomes willing to teach her how to ride a dire horse, because apparently he refuses to teach her how to ride a dire horse. Now we're just going to, while we are here, just going to help this bladehead by getting it out of the trap over here. Alright, it is a young one, greenish in color. You can see most of the animals, the young ones tend to have greenish colors on them, whereas the adults become more brightly colored, especially the big creatures, like the soundglass glosses here that we talked about previously. Adults have more orange in them, whereas the juveniles are greener in color. So to the bladehead, where adults have more orange in them, and the juveniles have more green. So there's definitely a color change in these larger creatures from young to adult, where young ones tend to be a little bit more camouflaged in the lighter green background here, and then as they become larger and more capable of defending themselves, they then don't mind standing out a little bit more, and they are more brightly colored then. Because adults like those, I mean, what do they have to fear? The only thing they really have to fear is the storm glider, and in this area there is only one of those, and it is flying mostly over an island in the center of the one lake here. As we are just running between some of these sheltering bush pods again. There are some panthers. Speaking of predators, hello there, Cloaked Panthers. And goodbye. Now the Cloaked Panthers, if they are pursuing us, they should be pursuing us. They are relatively fast, but their main attack there comes in the form that they can glide short distances. And that's where the cloaked part of their name actually comes from. They can jump and then open their front limbs to actually reveal a bit of a gliding mechanism. So looking at them here, you can see they've got the typical panther shape here, although again, of course, they are hexapods. They have got 6 limbs, 3 sets here, but you can see the hind limbs typical of a normal panther, and then the front limbs here, the middle limbs at least, also relatively similar. And then the front limbs, these are the ones with the mantle that when they jump, that opens up and it allows them to glide short distances. Now, very interesting, if you look at the toes over here, the hind feet here, you'll notice that they have got sickle claws, which are similar to the dromaeosaurids, or many of the dromaeosaurids, the old dinosaurs, the velociraptor and utahraptor and those types of creatures. They've got the sickle claws on the hind feet. And it seems that, wow, their front feet are very, very strange. It seems that their fingers are actually bent backwards and they are knuckle walkers, very similar to the Calicotheres, which are those weird beer-drinking creatures in Ark Survival Evolved. Okay, so that, and also very similar to how gorillas would walk. In the process here, it does protect their longish claws over here, so I guess they don't want that blunted. Unlike most cats, they of course can't retract their claws, so they have to protect it somehow. And these claws would obviously be very important for them when they're trying to catch prey. So unlike canids or dogs, which won't be using their claws as much as the cats would do to catch their prey, these guys do rely on their claws, so they need them nice and sharp, but they can't retract them. So I guess the next best solution is to just have it bent backwards. That is very, very interesting. Now looking at the mature individuals, the breeding individuals, they turn a little bit more of a dark blue color, so slightly different. Not like the bladeheads and the sandblast glossi, which will turn more orange in color during the breeding season. These guys turn more a dark blue, black almost, with some vivid yellow markings on there still. So these yellow markings are still a form of camouflage. It does tend to break up the outline of the creature. So to here, when they are just adults, not in breeding colors, these lines they have all along their body will be breaking up the outline of the creature. So it's a form of disruptive camouflage. Interesting that the membrane does stretch between the front legs here and the tail. So there's a nice big mantle that can actually open up as they run and then jump and deploy their mantle to glide closer to their prey. Now the sickle claw here most likely used not to slash at their prey, but rather to grab onto them and then pin them to the ground. They mostly would go for things that are slightly smaller than them, and like with Velociraptor, they would have used those claws to actually pin the creatures down while they bite at them with their jaws. Now the jaws here, not as sharp teeth, but still probably very, very muscular. It does appear to have a very, very strong jaw, capable of delivering a nice strong bite there, most likely able to shatter bones when they do bite. So you obviously don't want to be bitten by these guys, but really a beautiful, beautiful creature. And then this sail on its back, most likely aiding in maneuverability. When changing direction, they can probably use that, along with their nice flattened tail at the back here, to change direction quite nicely. And then similarly, when they're actually gliding, I believe the fin on its back here, the sail, and this flattened tail acts like a rudder, kind of steering the panther to its prey when it is gliding silently. The whole idea of gliding to get your prey, that is actually quite an ingenious way of catching prey, of at least chasing prey, because when you are running, of course, you've got hoofbeats or can hear the footsteps of the creature. But if you are gliding, it's potentially quite silent, unless you are using flapping propulsive flight, which of course the creatures will be able to hear your wings flap. In this case, you don't. You run and then you jump and you glide closer to your prey relatively silently, almost like an owl. Just an owl with very, very sharp teeth and claws. I do believe we have reached another settlement. Hello there, guys. So whenever we now see kites, of course, we know that we are close to a Na'vi camp. I believe you are getting quite close. The facility should be right up on the ridge there, so soon we'll be getting rid of some RDA again. Now before we go take out the RDA, it is interesting to note here that we've got these feather blades here, the feather blade seeds, that initially if you go up to one, you can't actually harvest anything whatsoever. However, you are coated in its pollen, and you can see the pollen floating all over the place, and we will now have pollen on our bodies. And if we then go to another individual, we should then be able to technically pollinate it and then collect it. So now we can harvest this fruit. And if we then go from this one back to the original one, we technically pollinate it, and we can then gather its fruit as well. Now, technically, the fruit wouldn't be set this quickly after pollination, but it is nonetheless a very, very interesting mechanism, because of course you can't gather fruit if no pollination has taken place. And in this case, perhaps it is actually last year's fruit that we actually now are able to harvest after pollinating this year's flowers. So it may be a way for the plant to actually trick us into pollinating, well, not really trick, but to get us to pollinate this year's flowers, because we've taken pollen from here, we've gone to the other one, and after we have pollinated it, maybe then only do the fruits of last year open up, and we can then access it. But before we actually go to pollinate it, we don't know whether there are fruits in this little secret compartment on the side here. So we go there hoping that we can get fruit afterwards, but we're not sure whether we're actually going to be rewarded for the pollination that we have just done. And there are some plants in real life that also kind of do this, not quite to this extent, but they do trick their pollinators, because the pollinators don't know whether they're actually going to get a reward or not. But we'll talk about that at a different time. For now though, the RDA facility over here awaits, and there are quite a few things for us to take down. The problem is doing this stealthily. Yeesh, okay. Got a fright there from the lightning. So what a time to do this, eh? Okay, I guess let's start this. Oh well, now they know, so let's just run away again. Guerrilla tactics for the win. Oh, okay. The problem is the grenadier. I can't just hide behind the nearest rock. I do wish we could tell our dire horse to just stay put for a bit, because apparently it was caught in a blast or something. Okay, let's try to get rid of this helicopter. And there we go. And let's go take out a few more RDA. Now there should be some secret entrances here. There should be some vents that we can actually creep into, which will allow us entrance into this facility. And I think this is one. Yeah, indeed. Okay, here's an amp suit right over there. But the one we need to take out is actually the grenadier, which is right over there. And there he goes. And now we'll retreat into the system, the channels underneath here, and we should be able to shoot one up here somewhere. I think they may be shooting at my horse. Yeah, there we go, that's one down. Doing hit and run tactics while they're looking for me in the one area, I'll shoot them from the other, like that. And let's go for something more explosive.
The code worked. I'm inside.
Nice work. Check for more messages.
Who could want this? Disgusting.
Well, yeah. So we had something similar in Grounded. Where we had the heads of all the creatures, of course, mounted there. But of course, this is supposed to try and show that the Na'vi are not used to having trophies up on the wall like this. So we obviously wouldn't understand why on earth one would want this. Now what we have here, we've got a Cloaked Panther. We've got a young one over here. We've got an adult over here. Then we've got, I think these are the Whipfang crawlers that we'll encounter in the Clouded Forest. Oh, this may be the Whipfang crawler, yeah. No, I think this is the chameleon crawler. We've got a storm glider, which I think the head would actually be larger than this. I mean, they are one of the largest creatures we'll encounter in the game. Then we've got a blade head, of course, as well. And some more crawlers. Another storm glider and another Cloaked Panther over here. So a whole bunch of heads of some of the creatures that you can have in the game. And then, of course, we've got... what are these? Viper wolves over here, yeah. Some viper wolves. An arrow deer. Some more heads. And then also a whole bunch of artifacts of the Na'vi of the planet. So with some spears, there are some daggers here. There are some of the Aeolian wind flutes that we'll encounter later on in the game. There's another nice little, probably a longbow over there. Some drums. And some more drums. And then just some normal, like a stone tool, stone hammer there. And then what appear to either be tusks or ribs, possibly of Zakru, up on the wall over here as well. The whole idea here is to show, similar to how many museums took artifacts away from the cultures where they collected them and took them into museums in England and in South Africa. I mean, all museums have got artifacts collected from all over the place, taken away from the place where they originally were. And the advantage of that is that yes, you can study it, but you can also gain much more information from something in situ, there where it actually is. And it is, for example, technically illegal, at least in South Africa, to remove stone artifacts like stone hand axes and so from the area where they are found. But many people do still, when they see a hand axe, they go, "Ooh, I'm going to put this in my home." I, for example, saw a big hand axe that's probably 120,000 years old. Left it in exactly the spot where it is, and only I know exactly where it is. So whenever I'm on the property where it was found, I would go back and I check. Yep, it is still there. It is not, has not been collected by anyone else. So now, if you do encounter something like an artifact of human-made artifact, do try to leave it there where it was actually found. Take photographs, measure it, all those types of things, but preferably keep it where it was.
What is going on over there?
Just seeing some pushback from the Blues as usual.
Don't give me that. I've seen the reports.
We have a lead on a major stash of Zakru bone. We're talking containers of it. A whole cargo hold.
Look, I don't give a damn about your little treasure hunt. The moment it becomes a liability, though, it's gone.
Understood. I'm pulling back to the extraction facility. Going to need some more room to maneuver.
Do as you must. Mercer out.
Okay, so she's after Zakru bones, and the Zakru, being such an important part of the Zeswa culture, they would of course be held sacred. You don't want people collecting their bones afterwards, so yeah. I can't imagine the sisters being very happy when they find out that Harding is actually after the Zeswa bones. Okay, let's be ready to actually fight. Because I can't imagine this area being unprotected. Indeed. There goes the first. And here comes some more. Oh, it's a flamethrower. Of course he has a flamethrower. Okay, where is Mr. Flammenwerfer? Well, Flammenwerfer can't get to me. So let's just... Oh, okay. So what we have here, a whole bunch of Na'vi weapons and arrows and tools. A whole bunch of arrows over here as well. And then also things like musical instruments. So it's as if whole parts of the culture are just being taken and transported back to Earth to have as exotic memorabilia of this planet. And it's not like the Na'vi would have given these up willingly. Not to the RDA at least. So these were forcibly taken from the Na'vi. We even have things like this instrument over here, where it looks like a bow, and it's kind of like a bow that's been repurposed more for music. You've got a little bowl at the bottom here that's going to amplify some of the sounds, the vibrations. As you pluck this string, it gives us boing, 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 boing. It gives a nice sound to the thing. And I think there's, as far as I recall, there is actually a side quest where there is a person in the Kinglor forest that is learning how to play this, and it's making a very strange sound that nobody recognizes. But alright, I do believe it's time for us to turn some of the valves up here. And this one, great stuff. And that means we should now be able to sabotage the flow over here. Okay, we need to get to that side, I think. We go in here, there we go, there's a vent. And there we go, sabotage the failsafe, and now this facility should be rigged to blow. Ha ha ha! Some people just want to watch the RDA burn, and we're some of those people.
This place reeks of blood and mud. Acrid and thick with death. Where is Harding? Did you find her?
Harding's people must have known we were closing in. They withdrew.
Running away from us is a wise choice.
This is Zakru.
Awa took this one long ago. What use can they have for crumbling bones?
The dead are easy prey.
Harding is looking for a place with more of them. A graveyard.
The Weeping Gorge. Sosul is there. If he tries to stop them, they will kill him.
They will only find us at their gates. I will gather the warriors.
I could ride out to the gorge and warn Sosul.
Maud, come in. They've taken out the Dire Horse team. Get your filthy blue hand.
I did not like her tone.
Warn Sosul. No more will suffer at their hand.
So Sosul is basically at like an elephant's graveyard, but with Zakru. The place where the Zakru go to die. Now the whole thing of an elephant graveyard is of course a myth. Elephants don't go to one place to die. They will basically die where they stand. But of course elephants do seem to mourn their fallen family members. And they do seem to show emotion, at least, because they do seem to recognize death. We are just going to, speaking of death, just remove a few more RDA from this general area. Don't like them being around here. Now, interesting, we have, of course, in the King Lore, we've got the King Lore Forest Soul's Delight, which produces some electricity to, of course, ward off predators or herbivores. In this case, we've got the lightning grass, which, it says there, gathers static charges at night and during thunderstorms to periodically release them. This is now, again, a mechanism for them to defend themselves. You can see the electricity crackling amongst them, and then if we go close, yeah, we are paralyzed here. Oh dear. I could not move away. Well, that's new. And well, these little guys, it seems, are very, very interesting. It's a little bit outside my wheelhouse because we don't have anything like this on Earth. But the idea is that the plant here contains a lot of salts, a lot of minerals, which allows it to be very conductive. So it conducts electricity very nicely. And it seems during the night, it seems to take a lot of electrostatic energy from the atmosphere and actually, because it is so conductive, it does take it to the ground mostly, but some of it is stored as a natural battery, as chemical energy. And we can, of course, then use that as a defense mechanism. If you come too close, you get a shock. So it seems that it's taking electromagnetic charge out of this atmosphere and then storing it for later use. But at the same time, it can also just release it into the atmosphere. And the Hunter's Guide seems to suggest that maybe these lightning grass plants are actually very important in terms of regulating the thunderstorms of the upper plains. So maybe they get to increase or decrease the thunderstorm frequency on the plains here. As we are just slowly but surely making our way past some arrow deer, unfortunately they are running straight towards the RDA. Oh, and the RDA are under attack from Cloaked Panthers. Unfortunately, I think the Cloaked Panthers are now going to be decimated by these guys. Okay, now we are being chased by the Cloaked Panthers now. Right, that went south so quickly. There is an adult Cloaked Panther here, a mature one. Look at that black one right over there. Beautiful creature. But I really don't want to be taken down by it. So maybe what we should do is a bit of mounted combat. Like that. But because we are on horseback, we can quickly run away. We have saved the Cloaked Panthers, and we also have not become their food. That's cool. Guess that's one way to go about things. Oh no, what are you guys doing here? Bringing in more RDA, are ya? No, you're not. Oh, you already have. A whole bunch of RDA here. Are you okay? I'm not sure whether you are completely okay. I mean, your neck looks kind of broken. Are you alright? Yeah, I think you're alright. Okay. Now, we will be heading off to the Weeping Gorge, and we'll probably go and prevent destruction on that side in the next episode. But before we do anything else, I mean, these stone pillars here are not... Well, they are technically stone, but they're also not stone. These things lying around all over the place here are actually petrified trees, and so too these big ones here. At some point, the upper plains was actually a massive forest, dominated by, well, massive trees, as you can see here. But then most likely climatic changes resulted in it becoming drier, similar to how the rainforests of Africa at some point were much more expansive. And then it started decreasing as the climate became drier and savannas started taking over, and in some cases then grasslands also came in. And so similarly here we had massive rainforests in the area, at least in this area, and as the environment started drying out more, it then shifted into a more grassland environment. And the reason, of course, why it shifts over to a more grassy environment is because, well, trees need a lot of water in order to compensate for the transpiration losses they have. Oh, here we are on a cliff face. Let's just find a safer way down. So transpiration losses are quite high. Ooh. Okay, well, we made our way down, one way or another. But yeah, for trees, transpiration losses are quite high, and in order to actually compensate for that, so they lose a lot of water from the leaves, and to compensate for that, they need a lot of water in the soil. So you need relatively high rainfall conditions for a rainforest to persist. as the area here dried out, of course, they couldn't compensate for the transpiration losses, and as a result, the trees would have died. Now, why they turned to stone, that is interesting, because that generally takes a very, very long time to happen, or to take place. But there have been cases of more rapid semi-fossilization, which is when an environment, especially in water, where there is a lot of salts in there, of certain salts, it does tend to petrify the whatever you put in there, teddy bears and whatever. But as for this, it could just be that they dried out very rapidly, the trees, the trunks that were still remained there, they hardened, and then over time some salts were deposited in there and some minerals were deposited. Basically the trunks, the wood, turned to stone. Is this an active one? Yeah, this is an active facility. Okay, we can't have this. Oh great, they've got a grenadier. That's fun. I guess that's the one we're taking out first, eh? Right. Of course, there we've got one of those heavily armored amp suits as well, which... yeah, there's one way to get rid of them. And that's by blowing them up like that. And so too that one there. Oh, I love the grenade sling. Oh really, you want to come at me with your guns, eh? Well, take an arrow to the crotch. Yo, oh, shotgun. No, arrow back at you. And there we go. And nature returns once more. And so, as we make it back to camp, thank you very much everyone for joining us on a little adventure. We'll be back again on Friday for another episode of An Ecologist Plays Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, where we're going to go to the Weeping Gorge and go have a look at the Zakru graveyard. So, until then everybody, hope you have a wonderful week further. Stay safe. I'll see you all soon. Bye.